Welcome back to the Writer's Room, the show where I walk you through the lore and writing process of my Transformers AU, Siegeworld. In today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at the rest of the Siegeworld era, the setting of my main episodes and spotlight episodes. Last time we looked at the first 3 years of the timeline, where we saw the stories of Valve, Scourge, Razor Beast, Armorhide, Reboost, and Jolt, most of the spotlight episodes. Today, we'll be looking at the rest of the spotlights, the first part of my Wreckers miniseries, and all 4 Siegeworld episodes that have been released so far. For a short catch-up on what we've seen so far, all at once, every Cybertronian from across Cybertron's long history awoke in the skies of an unknown planet, from famous leaders to well-known warriors to forgotten delivery bots and blue-collar workers. This planet had many different environments, from large deserts and jungles to remnants of destroyed cities, and even nonsensical environments like large space-like expanses with no gravity. When the Cybertronians first crashed to the surface of this planet, most abandoned their wars, seeing no point in continuing them. But some bots reformed their groups, from Decepticons to Predacons, Malignus to Cybertrons. There were countless groups actively recruiting, keeping the wars going. One of these groups was led by Blaster. They called themselves Autobots, but to other groups, to cut down confusion, they just called them Blaster's Autobots. And this is where we hit our first spotlight of today, Spotlight Warpath. Warpath was an Autobot under Blaster, specifically in weapons development. In his spotlight, we follow him and Gears as they test a new weapon. At first it goes fine, but when Warpath supercharges it, it's too powerful for him to handle. A laser flies off target, cracking the cliff behind them and waking up an Insecticon under the scrapyard they were testing the weapon in. Luckily for them, a chunk of the broken cliff falls onto the Insecticon, killing it. We also see Pipes for the first time in this spotlight, and we'll put a pin in Pipes and Warpath for now, because we'll be seeing them later. An important job amongst the Cybertronians was communications. Something about this planet caused radios not to work at long distances. One of these information runners was Skyfire. Skyfire worked for Roller, a large bot who runs a prison. This isn't the only Roller to show up on Siegeworld. There's also a bot named Roller in Spotlight Valve. Just know that this is a separate bot, but they both just share the same name. While on a mission running information back to Roller's prison, Skyfire would be attacked by 2 bots, Skyrupt and Fearswoop. Skyfire would take a bad hit, and Skyrupt would try to make him surrender. After Skyfire refused, Skyrupt would try and shoot him down, but Skyfire managed to wrestle Skyrupt to the ground, killing him in the crash. Fearswoop would try and kill Skyfire, but after a short fight, Skyfire would kill him and return to his mission. And we'll just put a pin in Skyfire for now as well. Roller had many bots working under him. An important part of his operations were his detectives. They would be sent out to towns and cities, and work to find any bot endangering others, from raiders to gangs to drug dealers. One of Roller's best was Prowl. During his spotlight, he would hunt down Dragstrip, a prominent nuke runner. Nuke was a popular drug amongst Cybertronians with severe side effects, so it was a top priority for Roller and his group to take down the supply. Prowl would manage to bring Dragstrip in alive, and we'll just put a pin in Prowl for now as well. The last of the spotlights is Spotlight Centurion. Centurion was the victim of kidnapping, being taken by Shockwave and having his mind wiped and body enhanced as part of an experiment. He was deemed a failure and dumped in one of Siegeworld's deserts. He was expected to die there, but he was found by Rook, who took him in and nursed him back to health. A year later, he made his way back to Shockwave's lab, hoping to find any sign of his lost memories. Inside he found Shockwave's logs, learning more about what had been done to him. As he journeyed deeper, he found a backup of his memories, but as he grabbed it, it triggered the lab to self-destruct. He grabbed the data slug and tried to escape, but he wasn't fast enough. He was pinned under rubble near the exit. Rook managed to find him before the lab completely crumbled, but Centurion had to abandon the data slug. And we'll just put a pin in Centurion for now. And finally, we're onto the main series of Siegeworld, and the first part of Wreckers. These series take place around the same time, so we'll be jumping between them. A squad of Blaster's Autobots, led by Lockstrike, is sent to a nearby city. This city, Nucleus, had previously been a pillar of that region, being a major trading hub and home of many bots. It was also situated near Blaster's hidden base, so when communications from the city went dark, Blaster and his Autobots were the first to notice. Lockstrike and his squad, Springer, Cliffjumper, Spruce, and Rook, would be sent to the city to find out where the citizens had gone. But they were ambushed by a squad of Decepticons. Spruce and Cliffjumper would be killed early, and Rook would be thrown into a crevice created by Enemy, one of the Decepticons. Lockstrike sacrificed himself to aid Springer's escape. Springer would manage to get out of the city with minor injuries. And we'll put a pin in Springer's story here. Many of her previous spotlights would lead into Wreckers. The Wreckers, led by Great Shot, were preparing for the next mission. First, they needed to recruit new members. Wing and Waver would recruit Centurion, Shock and Orr would be sent to meet with Warpath, Longarm would get reboost, saving him from a gang in the process, and Great Shot would meet with Roller, a good ally of the group, and manage to get Armorhide, Preble, and Skyfire on board for the mission. The new recruits would get introduced to the team and briefed for the mission. We lead Spotlight Wreckers with the team leaving on their mission. That's the first episode, and the only one to come out so far, but there will be more coming soon. Back to Springer's story, he made it back to Blaster's base. After meeting with Blaster, Tailgate, and the rest of that group's high command, Springer was placed in charge of a new squad and sent to assault a Decepticon base. He and his new teammates, Brunt, Hardhead, Cheetor, and Riptide, head to the Decepticon base and form their plan of attack. The guards at the front gate from an elevated position, while the others charged in, but the Decepticons had bots heading inside the base. Redwin would take off and shoot Hardhead from his position. Hardhead would try to reposition, but a fuel container underneath him caught fire. Springer would dive in and push him out of the way, but was caught in the explosion, knocking him out for a short time. Brunt would drag him to safety until he came back online. Springer and Brunt would try and push up to an auto turret, but Brunt would be shot along the way. Brunt survived, but told Springer to continue on without him. Springer would manage to take control of the turret and take down Redwing, while the others took down Viacons, till eventually the base's commander, Demolishor, ordered a full retreat. After taking control of the base, Springer and his team would secure it and wait for a convoy of reinforcements. Before they arrived, they captured a lone Viacon walking around the base. When the convoy arrived, led by Iron Fist, Springer and Cheetor would meet with them. Iron Fist, some Autobots from his group, Cheetor and Hardhead, would be heading inside the base to activate the base's defensive systems to prepare for an incoming attack. But when they went inside, Iron Fist would take Cheetor, Pipes, and Sideswipe down to a separate part of the base, while Hardhead, Red Alert, and two generics, Rev and Alternator, would head to the control room to activate the base's defenses. From here, the stories go back and forth, but to keep things simple, we'll look at the stories all at once. First, Iron Fist group. They would make their way deep into the base, making their way to a hidden lab. Iron Fist wanted to secure something from this lab, but Pipes tripped the security system, and the floor dropped out from underneath them, dropping them onto a platform, slowly being pushed towards a pit of molten metal. When Sideswipe tried to shoot the glass across from the pit, saws came out from the wall closing in on them, severing his leg as he fell into the molten metal. Outside the base, the Viacom prisoner inside the stockade secretly had fistfight heading inside him. He ripped his way out, received a communication from Soundwave, and escaped the stockade to access the base's internal security defenses for an access panel and activate them. Hardhead and his group were making their way to the base's command center, but as the internal security systems went online, they would have to battle through turrets and saws. They escaped through the vents, but both the generics would die. Hardhead, hearing Cheetor's cry for help, would try and aid him, while Red Alert left to disable the security system. Red Alert got the internal security offline, freeing Cheetor, Iron Fist, and Pipes. Iron Fist wanted to make his way back up to the lab, but Hardhead insisted on bringing him to the surface to meet with Springer. And that's where Siegeworld's story ends for now, but it's far from over. From how things are looking now, the next few installments should be more spotlights, then I'll be finishing off Wreckers. For the writing process, Warpath I see is a bit of a redneck. He makes weapons, but less high-tech cutting-edge weapons and more random parts ramshackled together. Considering how little screen time he's had so far, I think that's come across pretty well. I'm working on Wreckers Part 2 right now, and he is going to show up a whole lot more in that. Skyfire also hasn't had much yet. He's based on the G1 toy version, so I wanted to keep him different from his cartoon character. Just like a lot of my Wreckers, he's a bit of a lone wolf, not out of personality or anything like that. His job before the Wreckers is just more of a one-bot role. In Wreckers Part 1, a lot of time was spent introducing the main team because they had no screen time up to that point. So like a lot of the new team of Wreckers, he'll be getting a lot more screen time in Part 2. Skyrock and Fierce Swoop are some generic goons. Skyrock's based on G2 Ramjet, just with a new name, and Fierce Swoop's based on the Euro G1 toy. These guys honestly aren't that important. The bot they work for is definitely more important, but we haven't seen them yet. I have some stuff written for these guys, personality-wise, and maybe I'll throw them in a future spotlight, taking place before this episode though, because both of them are definitely dead. Prowl, based on the RIDO1 version, is a detective, and a pretty good one. I really wanted to flesh out Roller's ranks with him, show off Roller's group as the major powerhouse they are, at least in the region of Siegeworld that they operate. It's a big place with no long-range communication, so it's nearly impossible to know what's going on everywhere. In Wreckers, Prowl kinda leads Armorhide and Skyfire, the other two bots that work for Roller, and it's looking like he may get more of a leadership role in the future. Centurion's a bit of an odd case. Before Siegeworld, he was forged in a distant Cybertronian colony that had lost contact with Cybertron long ago. Its population had lost all knowledge of Cybertron and their history. Not that Centurion would know any of that. Very quickly after crashing at Siegeworld, he was kidnapped by a Shockwave clone and had his memories wiped. He's been upgraded and barely knows his own name. And he doesn't even know anything about his new body. He is going to be a major player going forward, and I have a lot planned for him, but you'll just have to wait and see what's coming. Rook is based on the BotCon toy, and he is the second bot named Rook. He and the Combiner Wars version from Siegeworld Episode 1 are different characters. This Rook's a journalist just like the original depiction. But I did gender swap this Rook, just so I can get some more fembots into Siegeworld. There's not really enough to go around, so why not just gender swap some nobodies? It's not hurting anyone. Shockwave, well, one of his many clones, is still a bit of a mystery. All we know is that he's making super soldiers and Centurion was the prototype. He's based on the Prime version. I use that version because he's the Shockwave that worked with clones, with the Prime Predacon specifically, so I thought that version fit best. Springer's first squad didn't really get much. This was the first Siegeworld thing I made, and I didn't have as many plans as I do now. None of them really got much screen time, and most of them are dead. Some of them also didn't use my models. This was very early on, and I hadn't made that many up to that point. I have gone back and updated the characters, but I'm not sure if they'll ever show up. At the very least, Rook's alive, and I do have a spotlight planned for him. I've had that one planned since before Siegeworld Episode 1 even went up. It's since ballooned into a really big project, and I really want to make it, but I think it's going to have to wait until after Wreckers is done. The Decepticons from Episode 1 are very similar, but they aren't dead, and I do have plans for them in the future, so we'll just have to wait and see where they go. The main group of Wreckers are very traditional, as they are nobodies. I think Shock and Orr were Wreckers and IDW, but the rest of them were my idea. The Wreckers in Siegeworld are a bit weird. The group's well known for dying in missions, but every bot that's ever existed now appeared on Siegeworld, so there are a lot of Wreckers kicking about. These guys are just one group. We may see others in the future. Wing and Waver are dual bots, but they're a bit weird. Technically, they're Wing Waver. They split into two smaller bots. They're based on the Victory version, and I have a lot of plans for them, mostly action-wise. I can see a lot of cool stuff I can do with them, so I'm hoping to get that in Wreckers Part 2. Shock and Orr are kinda dual bots. They're called dual bots in IDW, but they combine into one alt mode, so it's more like a Micromaster combiner. They are the main warriors of the group. In their combined form, they can use electricity powers. Transformers has always had bots with, I guess, superpowers, but I haven't got a chance to really show any of that off, so I thought these guys would be a good start. I know the names might be similar to Shock and Awe, but one's named Shock and they have weird lightning rod looking guns, so of course it's going to be electricity powers. Jetfire is the group's transport, and he's based on the Energon version. I was thinking of using Stratosphere when I was making Wreckers Part 1, but I want him to actually do some stuff. Most of the try and transport bots are just there to move people around. They don't really do much, and a lot of the time they're just old and falling apart. So using Jetfire could mean I could actually get him involved in combat, rather than just having him stick to the back lines. Longarm is the group's medic, and he's based on the 2007 toy. There's a lot of 2007 guys in Siegeworld: Warpath, Crankcase, Armorhide. I try to keep things varied, but sometimes I gotta give the Bayverse weirdos a little love. Anyway, he's also the group's second in command, and has a bit of a past with Reboost. I have a little story planned out for that, and maybe we'll look at that in a future episode. Finally, for the main team, Great Shot. He's based on the Super God Master Force version, and like the toy, he's a sex changer. He didn't found this group of wreckers. After their last leader took a bad hit on a mission and retired, he took over. He's actually the one who planned the mission the wreckers are going on, and I have a lot of stuff planned with him, but that will just have to wait until part 2. For Siegeworld Episode 2, I wanted to introduce a main team, and here we'll take a look at Springer as well, mostly because he fits better here. I want him to kind of be thrust into leadership. He's holding it together, but he just lost, to his knowledge, his whole team, so who knows how long he'll be keeping that up. Springer's about who bottles stuff up. Eventually the bottle just gets too full and overflows. Brunt, nothing to do with the guy who hangs out with Triptychon, is a bit like Cup. But while Cup's old, wise, and knowledgeable, Brunt's missing the wise. He's been in a million battles, and he's great with strategy, but he never really brings them up. Not out of malice, he just assumes everyone has all the experience that he does. I'm hoping to give him an episode to flesh him out, probably with Riptide. And speaking of Riptide, he's based on the IDW version, and he hasn't had much either. He didn't even show up in episode 4, with good reason. He's off doing some stuff that will be important in the future, and we'll see that at some point. Hardhead's based on the G1 version. He's a soldier, he doesn't really want leadership or anything like that, he just wants to follow orders and get into good fights. Up until episode 4. After he experienced Iron Fist's bad leadership, he's starting to take up a bit of a leadership role, and maybe we'll lean into that later on. Finally for now, Cheetor. His design isn't based on anything, I made him back before I was confident enough to tackle a beast mode, so he's a hover car. I do plan on updating his model soon. It was recolored from something I didn't make, and it doesn't really fit with the style all too well. Personality wise, I think he's pretty similar to Season 1 Cheetor. He's young and thinks he can take on anybody. He's a bit more mature, and you can see in episode 3 he can handle himself in a fight. I do have bigger plans for him coming up, but that is a bit of a while away. And that's everyone. I'll cover the Decepticons and the story of the rest of Wester's Autobots when we see some more from them, as a lot of them are in the middle of stories right now, and I want to wait until they've actually finished. I do have some plans to do some stuff with Red Wing, set before episode 3, as he died in that episode. I had some very early plans for something with him, but that's a while away. Anyway, that's Siegeworld so far, depending on when this comes out. I have 3 spotlights ready to go out, so I'm not sure if any of them will be out by the time this is. We do have some other characters to go over, but we'll be swinging back to them in the future when we have enough Siegeworld to warrant another of these episodes. It may be a little bit to another writer's room, but right now I am planning to go over another complex area in my EU, the Third Great War. And make sure to tune in on Wednesday for another rant video, and Friday for another showcase. If this goes up on time, it should be the Armada Autobots. Anyway, that's all from me, and I'll see you guys in the next video.